Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla, and we are going to do two things in this video. We're going to talk about my February TBR, which it's kind of a mystery to me. I'll explain, and also go over all of the books that I read in January. Because my February TBR is kind of small at the moment, I feel like I have enough time to do both in this video, and like this might be what I do going forward depending upon how many books I read, because I am reading a smaller amount. I feel like I can probably squish them into one as opposed to making two separate videos, because the TBR video might be really short. Also, I really am mood reading right now, so like the set TBR, I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling it. Like, I have a few books that I'm like, ooh, I really want to read those this month, but then the rest of it is just like a free-for-all. So really, it's just like, I could be in the mood for this. Grab yourself a coffee or a tea. I have a nice iced cold brew latte in here, and let me tell you, it's hitting the spot. It's hitting the spot. First, let's talk about the books that I read in the month of January. I actually had a really good reading month. It felt so good. I felt like I was like back in my groove, like still got a groove back. That's how I felt. I read a decent amount. I also read some like chunkers, and we're gonna talk about them. We are gonna go in the order that I read them, just because that is making sense in my brain right now. So the first book is one that I actually started in December, finished at the beginning of January, and that is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. I bought this on a complete whim. I was out book shopping with my friend Tishna. We were exploring a new bookstore. Honestly, it's a sprayed edge, isn't it? It just always sucks us in. And I was like, what is that? And then I saw it was a cozy fantasy, and I was like, sign me up, sign me up. It was giving very Legends and Lattes vibe, which like was a 5-star read for me. Both of them, actually. Bookshops and Bone Dust, too. And this is like a combination of the two. It's really a combination of Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust. And I had a good time. I did only rate it 3.5 stars because I felt myself not connecting to these characters as much as I did in Legends and Lattes. I need to stop comparing every cozy fantasy to Legends and Lattes, because then I feel like I'm a little bit disappointed. So I need to like make an active like thought in my brain while I'm reading to just like be in it, and I feel like I tried to do that as much as possible here, but for some reason just was not connecting with the characters as much in this one. So we have Reyna and we have Kianth. This is queer, which like bonus points for that. We love to see that. So we have Reyna and Kianth. Reyna is a guard for the queen, and Kianth, am I getting this backwards? No. I thought I was mixing them up. Kianth is a powerful mage, and they are both at the point where they want to kind of like retire, hang up what they're doing. You can see where this is going here, and they want to open up a tea shop together. They just want to like put all of like the violence behind them, put the life behind them, and just be like cozy in a new town, have that small town vibe, hang up their swords, shall you, and just have a cozy tea shop. And that's really all you need to know. We have a little bit of a mystery in here. We have the coziness from like discovering this new small town. We also have a little bit of drama. This is like slightly higher stakes than something like Legends Lattes, where that was like beyond low. We are still getting kind of like the situation with the queen and everything like that. So it's a little bit higher stakes overall, but still kind of low stakes compared to a lot of fantasy. And I just had a good time with this. Like I said, 3.5 stars. It was good. It was enough for me where like I really want to continue in the next one, especially where they left off. The next one has to do with pirates, and I was like, yes, I feel like that one could be rated higher for me. And even though I didn't like super connect with the characters, I'm still intrigued enough to keep going. So I definitely think that I will. But overall, good time. If you were looking for a new cozy fantasy, I definitely would give this one a whirl. It's not like a new all-time favorite, but I still had a lot of fun. And then we have quite possibly could end up being one of my favorite books of the year. I mean, it's definitely going to end up on that list, but like Could it compete for like the #1 spot? It is entirely possible. The way I cannot stop thinking about this book, it's like ingrained in my soul at this point, and that is The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. Y'all were right. All of my book besties, they were like, you need to get to this. This needs to be a top priority for you. You were absolutely correct. You were absolutely correct. This is a bit of me. This is what I love, love, love in fantasy. There is just something about having death as a character that just does it for me. It just does it. And oh my god, the writing in this book is absolutely exquisite. It's not overwritten, it's not overly descriptive, it's just gorgeous. And the flow of it and the pacing of it and the dark grittiness of it, oh my god, this is everything that I wanted. If you like books like Addie LaRue, like Belladonna, like Nettle and Bone, books along those lines, you will absolutely love, 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 love this. I genuinely, like, I can't stop thinking about it. I need everyone in my life to read this book so that I have, like, more people to obsess about it with, because oh my goodness me, I am in love. So in this one, we are following Hazel. Hazel is the 13th child, and when she is born, because she is a 13th child, which is considered like kind of special, she's promised to one of the gods, but he doesn't come for her right away, so she spends her entire childhood kind of being pitched as the outcast of the family. Her parents don't pay attention to her, her siblings, most of them just see her as like not even their sibling, just like as someone around. She's treated like dirt, essentially. And she waits her entire childhood for this god, which she's heard about her entire life, to show up. And she is just playing this waiting game. And then one day he does, and the story takes off from there. I don't want to give too much of this plot away. Like, it says it in the synopsis. You can go read it if you want to. I personally went into this fairly blind, and I'm actually so happy that I did. It is not hard to understand by any means. You get gripped into the story right away. There is no way you leave this book like not caring about Hazel and who she is as a person, but also the relationship that she has with this god. My god. And the magic system behind here and the characters, there's a bit of a romance. It's dark, it's gothic, it's a little bit fairy tale-esque. It's everything that you could ever imagine. If you haven't read this, I need you to. I need you to. This was an instant 5-star. I kept saying I knew within the first 100 pages that this was going to be a 5-star. Maybe even before that, but like, you know, I tend to, I'm like, okay, slow your roll. It's over 500 pages. Let's like slow down a second. No. Instant 5 stars. The vibes of this book, they just suck you in, and the writing, there's just no way that you don't love this. And if you didn't, I don't need to hear about it. I don't. If you loved it, please comment. Let's like fangirl together. And then we stepped out of my fantasy world for a little while here because we had Winterween this month. So I needed to step into some thriller, some horror. The first one that I read was Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. I like this one. I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was extremely well written and it definitely captivates you from the very beginning. Like, this book starts off with a bang. I was like, holy moly, like, we're really just like getting into it here. And I love that. I need a thriller to like really grab me from the very beginning. I don't need to be like 100 pages in, like I need to be in it, and that's what this book does. I'm not gonna go like super into detail about all of these books because I did do an entire vlog, which I will link below as well as on the cards for you if you want to check it out and hear all of my thoughts and feelings on all of the books that I read for Winterween. But briefly, this one is about Geo, and when Geo was a teenager, her best friend Angela was murdered, and we're following her years later, now being convicted of being an accomplice to the crime, and we're switching back and forth between perspectives. We have current day perspective where we're following, you know, her as she goes to prison and like trying to deal with that and kind of deal with her new life, and then we are also following obviously obviously past tense of like trying to figure out what happened, because like everything is obviously not as it seems, and that's really all you need to know. This one is very dark though. It has a ton of trigger warnings, so I would definitely look them up before jumping into it. I know this is a super backlist, but I also know not everyone has read it. So if you are interested in this one, which I would suggest, I really enjoyed it. Definitely look up trigger warnings first, because they are a lot. You can imagine with her being in prison, there's like a whole set of trigger warnings around that, and then also obviously what happened and the details of the crime. And I just loved how everything in this book wrapped together. I felt like the pacing was really fast because we're switching back and forth between perspectives, but it wasn't confusing by any means of like which timeline we're in. It was very clear what timeline we were in, and I really enjoyed that. Like I said, the writing overall, gorgeous. I love the way the title Jar of Hearts ties in at the end. Oh, it just like left an impact, and it definitely made me bump up my rating a little bit more, because I was like, is it a 3.5? Is it a 4? 3.75? Like somewhere in there. And then as soon as I started, like the ending came and we got that, I was like, no, this is a 4, because that is like absolutely genius, but also just like sits with you in such an uncomfortable way. So I really enjoyed it. Then the next one that I read was Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This is her best written book so far, in my personal opinion. This one, you can definitely tell she stepped up her writing game. Oh my goodness. Alice Feeney has been hit or miss for me, and this was definitely a hit. I really enjoyed this one. I also gave it 4 stars. And I'm not like a domestic thriller kind of gal, but this one is domestic thriller, but in a slightly different way. We have our main character, Grady Green, which like, I don't know why that's just so fun to say. Grady Green. Great name. Anyways, we have Grady and we have his wife, Abby. On the way home one evening from work, Abby calls him. They're talking. Grady has something really exciting he wants to share with her, but he doesn't want to do it over the phone. There's this whole thing. And then all of a sudden he hears brakes screeching and her screaming. And he's like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? And she's like, there's a woman lying in the middle of the road. And he's like, don't get out of the car. Don't get out of the car. She's like, what do you mean you want me to get out of the car? Hello, there's a woman lying in the middle of the road. What if that was me? Wouldn't you want me to get out of the car? And he's like, don't get out of the car. And then the story takes off from there. Honestly, that's probably all you need to know. This does take place on an island in Scotland, and it has the most impeccable vibes. I am obsessed. Alice Feeney just knows how to do an island book. Let me tell you, with Daisy Darker, she nailed it. With this one, she nailed it. Yes. And I was, skating through this book and I'm like, I'm really enjoying myself. I'm really enjoying the writing. I don't typically love domestic thrillers, but like, I'm having a good time. And then I will say, like, 3/4 of the way through, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to like wrap up now. I'm ready to move it along. But then it starts to wrap up and move things along. And oh my God, the ending of this book, yes. I'm not going to give anything away. Just yes. And there is a section at the end of this book that I wish I could read out loud to you, because oh, the power. But I don't want to give anything away. So I just really enjoyed it. That's all I have to say. You can see my full thoughts and feelings in the vlog if you would like. What I will say also is that the audiobook for this is so good. There's sound effects when she's like calling at the beginning on the cell phone. It's like sounds really distant and kind of echoey like a cell phone would. There's crackling noises, there's wave noises, there's a bunch of different sound effects. I thoroughly enjoyed my audiobook experience, so if you are looking for something along those lines, definitely check out the audiobook. Also, this is a little bit of mixed media because we do have some newspaper articles woven in here too. That didn't sound any different on the audiobook, but in the book it's mixed media. So also a little extra bonus. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Daisy Darker is definitely still my favorite Alice Feeney, but this is my second. This one was so well done, and like it's gotten me back into the Alice Feeney world, and I just can't wait to see what she does next. And then the last one that I read for winter wean was Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This one has been on my TBR for so long, so I'm so happy that I finally got to it. I rated this 3 stars. I thought it was just okay, which is kind of a hot take because I feel like so many people rate this 5 stars. And I can see why. This isn't like a I'm dumbfounded that people rate this 5 stars. I can see why. This personally for me just fell flat at the end. I felt like the ending, we had this like, okay, let me explain. In this book, it's like an isolation story, right? So we have Maddie. Maddie lives in this isolated cabin with her husband, William. She can't remember a time without him. And one day she is out going to check like the snares or what have you, because you know they live completely off grid and she has to check the snares. She's out there and she sees the remnants of like an animal that's been like completely kind of mutilated and taken apart. She like throws up concern, gets William, and they're like, oh my god, what do we do? What do we do? And then the story kind of takes off from there. They're introduced to 3 strangers who are like out hiking, and it goes off from there. This is also has a lot of trigger warnings, so I would definitely look those up as well. I was so invested in the beginning of this book. I was like, ooh, I really like the isolation vibes. The writing is really good. I feel like I'm there. Obviously, it's winter time. I read this when it was snowy out, so that just like added to the experience, and I was really into it. And then the story kind of keeps going, and like while I'm still invested in Maddie as a character and what's going on, the overall horror of the book just did not do it for me. I'm like, this isn't really that scary, and it's just not the kind of horror that I really gravitate towards, so I think that's why this fell just a little bit flat for me. I liked the horror aspect of like the real life things that was happening, but the added horror just didn't really do it, and then the ending just felt so rushed in my opinion. It's weird because this book feels like I don't want to say it feels slow because it definitely reads fast, but it feels slow. Like you really feel like you're in it and that you're like in this isolation with them. And it's really, you know, you get every detail of it and every moment and that kind of thing, but it's not in like a bad way. But then the ending just felt like so fast, and I was like, man, I really was like in this for so long for then it to wrap up like that, and it just felt a little disconnected. And then it's one of those books that kind of leaves you thinking, and while I do like that sometimes, like I love Ian Reid, I love the way he makes me think afterwards, with this one, I don't know. It just didn't work for me personally. So overall, really enjoyed it. It was still a 3-star, but it definitely, I was expecting more, and I was a little disappointed. As soon as I was done with that, we needed to get back into fantasy. Let's be real. It's just where I land these days, okay? It's just the majority of my reads. It's my happy place. And I finally read from an author that I've been wanting to read from for so long, and that is Adrienne Young. I started with Spells for Forgetting because I did say I was going to read them in order, and I really, really, really enjoyed this. I will say, her writing is a bit flowery for me. It's a little bit overwritten for me personally, in the sense that we're like describing every little tiny thing that happens in like such great detail, even down to like a leaf is getting like overly described. That is a little too far for me. So I did have to bump my rating down just for my personal enjoyment, because I was like, okay, like there's no doubt the writing's good, right? It's actually exquisite, but it's just overly written for my personal taste. So I did knock it down. I think I gave it a 4.5 instead of a 5. Like, we're still up there, okay? I still really enjoyed this. It made me realize how much I do love magical realism and how much I need to be reading more magical realism, because it's really just the perfect combination between a mystery and a fantasy. You just combining the two, and it's 2 genres that I love. This has a full cast audiobook also, which I really enjoy. In this one, we are following Emery and August, essentially. They're like the 2 main characters, but we get many perspectives in here. I didn't think it was too many, but there were times where I was like, oh wait, who was that again? So maybe it was like slightly too many perspectives, but I still really enjoyed it. And because we have a full cast, it's easy kind of in the audiobook to decipher who is who. But essentially we're following August and Emery. They live on this island when they were teenagers, and something tragic happened one night where one of their friends was murdered and there was this huge fire, etc. And then August left. And he is coming back years later after his mom's passed away to kind of deal with the house that they had there and etc. He's only planning on staying for a few days, but then things start to happen and things about this murder start coming to life because it was never solved. People think that he did it, and him coming back is like bringing up all of these things, and the mystery unravels from there. So you're solving the murder, but you're also dealing with like the everyday life of these characters. There's also like this magic woven in throughout the island. It was so well done. So well done. I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed the characters overall. Like I said, my only qualm with this is that it is a little bit overwritten for my taste, but not enough to like where I didn't have like a good time. I was fully invested in the mystery of this. I thought the ending was great. I loved it. I cannot wait to read more from her. I think that The Unmaking of June Farrow might be my favorite, just on what I've heard people say, but we do have her new one as well, so I'm just excited. I will definitely be continuing in her backlist. I'm even more excited now. And I definitely need to be reading more magical realism, so please let me know in the comments if you have any other recommendations in the magical realism world, because I definitely need to be reading more of it. Okay, and then my last book for January, I think, was probably everyone's last book for January. I can't really say anything about it. It was Onyx Storm. It was Onyx Storm. Honestly, I'm so happy I got the one with the sprayed edges. I am, like, kicking my feet. What I will say is that this is the best written one so far. She definitely redeemed herself after Iron Flame with this one. Best written. By far. The character growth in this one, amazing. This, the funniest one of them all. This was full of sarcastic humor, which if you know me at all, you know is like my jam. I love sarcasm. I like gravitate towards it. So there's a few characters in here that I'm like even more in love with now. I can't say anything else. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna give any sort of indication of any sort of spoiler whatsoever. I mean, I feel like most people have had time to read it now, but not everyone is crazy like us in the bookish world. I really enjoyed it. So many theories. I'm sad we have to wait so long for the next one. She deserves a break. So good on her. It was great. I loved it. Oh, did I say it? I gave it 5 stars, obviously. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. So that is all of the books that I read in January. I am so happy. I had such a good reading month. I love it. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, now let's talk about my February TBR, which is, like I said, a bit of a mystery to me. The books that I know I will be reading is, I'm actually currently, I would say, in the middle of Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear, because I didn't have a chance to get to it in January. It was a busy weekend. Normally I would just finish this in one sitting, but it was a busy weekend, so I'm currently in the middle of it. I will finish this. I also am in the middle of What the Woods Took by Courtney Gould. I'm listening to this on audio, like when I go on my walks, so I'm really enjoying this. I did not know anything about this when I started reading. I was like, I'm just gonna go into it completely blind, because that's typically how I go into books anyways, but like genuinely, I don't think I've ever read the synopsis of this book. I just knew it was Courtney Gould, and she is the same author as The Den in the Dark, which is one of my favorite YA horrors ever. It's like up there in the top 5. So I was like, it's Courtney Gould, I'm gonna read it. This is about a girl named Devin, and she gets taken to one of those like teen rehab wilderness camps, and fishy things start happening, obviously, because it's one of those. So I'm really enjoying it so far. We also have a full cast audiobook in this one, which is fun. And then I have 2 fantasies that I'm definitely going to be reading this month. I don't have them with me yet. The first one is Rebel Witch. This is like top priority for me. Top priority. I can't. I can't. It's coming in my book of the month box, which is why I don't have it right now. This is the second to Heartless Hunter. Heartless Hunter was my favorite book of last year. This is the sequel, and I literally, like, I'm dying. I can't. Like, I'm looking more forward to this than I was Onyx Storm. Like, this is my Super Bowl. So, that's a lie. Sunrise on the Reaping is my Super Bowl when that comes out in March. But this is like my second most anticipated book of the year. So this is a top priority for me. It's coming in my book of the month. And then also, me and my friends started a book club. We read Onyx Storm for it last month in January. This month we are going to be reading The Tainted Cup, which I'm very excited about. This is like Sherlock and Watson, but make it fantasy. That's all I needed to know. I am a Sherlock gal. Like, I love it so much. Sherlock Holmes. I love the show Sherlock. Like, I've read a lot of the books. I love Sherlock. Okay. So, you say that, and you're gonna say make it fantasy? That's all I need to know. So we're gonna be reading that for our book club this month, which is very exciting. And then I have a stack of books that, like, I think I want to read this month that I think I'm in the mood for. These could change though, okay? These could change, but like these are what I'm thinking could be the vibe. We have A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. I have a feeling I'll probably end up reading this one. It's a very short thriller and it's winter time, so I feel like it's the perfect vibe for this. I know nothing. I don't want to know anything, so we have that. And then I have two others that I could potentially be in the mood for / if I have time could go for. The first one is A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. This has been sitting on my shelf and I want to get to it so badly because I love Alison Saft's writing so much, and this just looks so dark and creepy and gothic, and I feel like I could be in the mood for that. I could. But then I also have Where the Library Hides, which is the second in the, I don't know what the series is called. Something of the Nile. Anyways, the first one was What the River Knows. This is the second one. I read What the River Knows at the end of December, so it's still kind of fresh in my brain, so I definitely want to be getting to this one soon. I don't want to like let too much time go by, but I just don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for, or if I'm going to have enough time to read these on top of everything else, so we'll have to see if that happens and what I end up picking up. But like these two I could potentially end up going to. And then we get to the point of the rest of my TBR is a complete mystery to me, because I am doing a romance reading vlog the week of Valentine's Day, and I have asked 3 of my bookish friends to pick a romance book for me to read from an author that I have never read from before. So I sent them a list of the romance authors that I have read from, and I am getting video clips sent to me from the 3 of them, picking a romance book for me to read from an author that I haven't before. And I have not watched them yet. I'm going to watch them in the vlog. So there are 3 romance books that I will be reading this month. Because it's February, it's the vibe, but I have 0 idea what they are, and I am so excited. I have 2 of the clips already, and it is taking everything in me not to watch them, but I haven't. I'm going to watch them like a couple days before I start the vlog, so I can either go to the library or go to the bookstore to pick them up. I'm waiting on the last one, but oh my god, I'm so excited / nervous, but I'm really excited. I want to like diversify my romance reading, and I picked 3 people who have very similar romance tastes to me, or are still like discovering romance themselves. So I just feel like it's going to be the perfect mixed bag, and I'm overly excited. So there are 3 romance books that will be on my TBR, but I have no idea what they are. You will have to watch that vlog to find out as well. I'm going to be reacting to them like live in the vlog, and then we will read them, and I'm very excited / nervous. They all know like what I like in romance books, but they could pick anything. They can pick anything, even if it is outside my comfort zone. That is totally fine. Like there's nothing off limits here. I just said that I didn't want it to be overly spicy. That's like my thing, because I just don't really enjoy it that much. And I didn't want to like not rate them all really well because of that. So that was like the only kind of stipulation. Other than that, it could be any kind. It could be sports romance. It could be anything. I have no idea. Cowboy. Who knows? But I'm very excited to find out. So that is all that I will be reading in February. So yeah, that is all of the books that I read in the month of January, as well as what I am planning on reading in the month of February. I would love to hear what you plan on reading in the month of February. Also, have you read Onyx Storm yet? And like, what are your thoughts and feelings? Spoiler free. Spoiler free, please. We don't need to be doing that to anyone. But did you read it yet, or are you planning on reading it? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already. Turn the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future